where do we start? The initial interest. We've covered this already, but let's go systematic with it, okay? For the men, we are the leaders of the family, and we're the executives of the family. That means that generally in polygyny, the man gets the last say-so in matters of the home regarding the overall goals and plans of the house. So, adding a woman, for instance, to the family. Guys, if you have a wife already, she should already be prepared to engage in polygyny mentally, emotionally. This is something that you should have covered when you met her, and tell her that it's very possible that you may take on another wife or more wives, plural, or a concubine. Remember, you have to tell the woman from day one. Don't wait weeks and months down the road, or else you're going to lose her trust. And when you lose a woman's trust, you don't have the woman. There's absolutely no way you can build anything with a woman when you don't have her trust. So once you've established that and you and her have talked about it, let's assume that she's taking it on and she wants to see how things are going. And then I'll also give a scenario in another video if the man is unmarried and the woman is unmarried and they just met. But I'm going to start off with this scenario of two people who are already married. When you're considering another wife, you have to ask yourself why you're considering an additional wife. For some women, they see that they're busy with the household matters, taking care of domestics, and the woman may be working as well. I actually know some families personally where the wife doesn't work at all. The man takes care of all the bills. He conquers the external environment away from home, and he comes back, he just brings home the bacon, and that's it. But the woman is educating the children. She's making sure the house is clean. The man has his bath water, his clothes are ironed. Everything is straight in the house. But that can be very taxing on a woman's emotional and physical energy. And sometimes she just needs help. It's just really a logistical issue. In that case, a lot of women that I know personally, again, they've brought up polygyny to the man and said, hey, I need a sister wife. I need a sister wife in here to help out. And they also know that the man can handle another woman financially, emotionally, physically. And she takes into account her man's nature, his character, and his personality. And this is usually considered before she presents him with the idea. I know of a couple scenarios where the man actually refused adding another wife. And it wasn't because he doesn't, like multiple women. In some cases, the man thinks that the wife is going to bring up polyandry or an open marriage. If he gets to have an additional wife, then somewhere down the line, well, surely she's going to ask for an additional husband. And most women don't want to engage in homosexual behavior. They're not asking for an additional husband either. So they don't want to sex the co-wife or the sister wife, and they're not looking for additional men either. So a lot of men, those of you watching, if you said no to your wife, you have to consider why she's asking you. If she's asking because she needs help, you have to get her a co-wife, or you're going to have to hire her a maid. Now, if you end up liking the maid, then you're going to end up having a concubine or a second wife anyway. So you may as well get someone in there who has a vested interest spiritually, emotionally, physically in that family. Anyone who has a vested interest in you and your family, they're going to go to bat for you anytime, any day. They'll ride or die. And that's one of the purposes of polygyny. This also answers the question about, why don't we just get a community of people together, just random people, married and unmarried people, and, we can get these things done like that. Well, it's still not the same. And you also have to remember there's a sexual element to a marriage that you just don't have in a regular community of married and unmarried people. And it's unnatural for a woman and man to remain unmarried for long periods of time anyway. That's why marriage has always been a part of world cultures. Women going without a man, going without the physical and spiritual protection of a man. A man going without the ability to raise up a family in a very protective environment, where the woman isn't going out sleeping with a bunch of men, and he's not just sleeping with random women. He actually has an emotional root and a reason to keep going. And this is why when men are married, we generally get more done. Okay. Now, with an additional co-wife, a woman can not only have her rest sometimes. She might be in college. She might want to go back to college. She might want to write a book. She can't do these things if she's always servicing her man. Remember, she has to provide him with a sex life too, because he's going to want that. The general practice of women, almost 1 week out of the month, is to have a cycle. Now, we should know that cycles, or a woman having a heavy menses for 4 or 5 days, is unnatural. She should only have a dark spot of blood that also is mixed in with the eggs from her reproductive organs. It shouldn't go on for 4 days, 5 days, sometimes a week. I know some women who will bleed for 10 days. So we see all this pathology coming into play because of bad diet, bad emotions, childhood trauma. It might be physical blunt force trauma from an accident or a fall. We don't know, but it depends on which woman you're speaking with, the reasons for these things. But a woman is going to be out for the count for at least 3 days. And according to Torah, a woman is not even supposed to be around touching, pots and pans and dishes, and definitely not having sex for several days while she's on her cycle. So what is the man to do? Even without the sexual element involved, most men can go 3 or 4 days without sex, even when they're married. How in the world is the house going to run and the wife, needs to relax a little bit? She can't go at 100%, especially if she goes out to the job and she comes home and takes care of her man. And I also know women like that too. And most of you watching know women or are women who are working and taking care of a home and their man. It's very difficult. So this is the reason that you might want to get a co-wife. Sometimes a wife realizes that the man likes a woman who she knows, or that they both know, and she may bring it up to him. Sometimes the man will bring up, hey, I think, we should have another co-wife. He may just want another wife. He may want a concubine. But guys, remember, the moment you process these emotions you're having, or you feel the need to have a co-wife or a concubine, make sure you speak with your wife about it. And ladies, you have to be in tune with the leader of your home, not only because he's the head of your home, but because he's your husband. And you're emotionally bonded to him. And it's important that y'all sit down and talk about the matter. Don't go emo and get all upset and start cussing at him. And, I can't believe I'm not good enough, for you. And don't do all that. Because generally, if a man is with you, he thinks you're good enough for him. And if he opens up and he comes to you and says, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and this is not just about polygyny, this is about anything, then make sure you take him seriously. Because it takes a lot for a man to open up as it is anyway, even the most expressive man. All right. So you sit down, you speak about the co-wife. The next step is, you have to decide how you're going to choose her. All right. The first step is to consider if you already have options. Does your wife have a cousin, or does she know one of her cousins or her best friend? You have to take her character into account. No matter how fine this woman is, it don't matter if her rump is big and round. It don't matter how big her legs are, how big her breasts are. It doesn't matter how young she is and supple. You need to consider her character first. You like what you like physically. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not going to build you a family, bruh. It's not. So if you're only considering a woman based on her beauty and her sexual capacity, then that's a concubine. And if you want a concubine, brothers, you're gonna have to be honest with yourselves, and then be honest with your wife about it. So when you choose a wife, you're considering certain wives, one or more women. You're gonna have to look at her character. Is she family oriented? First thing you have to ask yourself: If she doesn't like children and you have 4 children already, then you're not going to consider her. Does it, even as a concubine has to be family oriented as well, because you may have children with her and you already have children. And she may be around your children sometime. Have to consider that. If a wife or a potential wife rather has anger issues and she is always up in arms about something, she's always complaining about something, she's unfit for a polygynous marriage, because I said before in another video, whatever issues you're going to have in a monogamous marriage, once you add another woman, those issues are magnified by 10. They become exponential. So you have to find a woman who can balance her emotions with some logic. She has to think about the practical application and the utility of polygyny and how she fits into the family. So even if the woman is of high character and she has great resolve, she's a tough woman, she has experience, she has life experience, she has great skill set, you still have to ask yourself, does her personality fit in your family? Because every family has their own vibration and has their own spirit. You also have your own type of spirituality. Every home has their own spirituality and how you practice. A woman has to know herself. The potential wife has to consider that for herself, whether or not she's going to fit in with you. And ladies, even if you get along with a potential sister wife, you have to ask, is she going to get along with my husband? Now, how do we find that out? You have to invite her over sometime. Y'all go out to the same places in public, because the community also has to know at some point what you're doing, so that there's some type of accountability, and that prevents a lot of problems in the community as well. And you go on dates, go out sometime, go to the vegetarian restaurant sometime, eat high vibration foods together, because that actually bonds you more, because now everybody is on the same page. All right. Those are just a few tips. I'm going to stop right there.